After a player transfers in the portal, there's always a lot of speculation on why it occurred. HVL leaving Louisville for LSU has gotten a lot of attention, but just as compelling is Lauren Betts leaving Stanford for UCLA. As you're likely aware, Betts was the number one ranked recruit in the 2023 class. Like HVL, Betts is not really given a clear reason on why she transferred after only 1 year at Stanford. Her transfer was surprising, but in other ways, it really wasn't. I want to take a deep dive on it and what the fallout is after her transfer. Before we dig in, if you like the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel as well. I'd love your comments below, even your poison. I respond to the poison as well. Yes, this isn't a football video, this one, but I will take the time to all Cowboy fans. I do apologize. I've done it all in the comments, but I do apologize for having Dak Prescott in the top 5 of all-time Cowboy quarterbacks, all right? I was on drugs. I was in a difficult place. Mistakes were made. I was a hopeful Cowboy fan when that video was made, but I will not apologize for the number 1 selection. I'll fight you to the death on that one. All right, let's get into this. When Betts was in high school, she narrowed her top 5 schools down to Notre Dame, UConn, South Carolina, Oregon, and Stanford, with obviously her ultimately choosing to be a Cardinal, where she would be coached by Hall of Famer Tara VanDerveer. After her signing, she gave the usual quotes about looking to be pushed and challenged and how excited she was to go to Stanford, which, as per norm when players sign, the quote that I found more interesting was this that I found in Slam magazine. I don't want to go to a school where I know I'm going to be like the best as soon as I walk in. I want to go to a school where obviously my freshman year might not be as amazing as I want it to be, but we'll see what happens once I get there. Just know that each season is going to get better and better, and I think I chose the best school for that. Well, she sort of got her wish because the season was not like amazing. It seemed like Stanford was set up to dominate and make a run all the way to the Final Four, as they had returning starters Haley Jones and Cameron Brink returning as well. They had a loaded recruiting class, which was highlighted by Betts, but their offense often seemed a bit stagnated during the season. They lost their last game of the regular season at Utah, which prevented them from winning the Pac-12 outright. Then they lost to UCLA in the Pac-12 tournament, but kept their number 1 seed. However, they were bounced from the tournament by Ole Miss in the second round of the tournament and were the first number 1 seed to miss the Sweet 16 since 2009, and only the 5th such team to exit the women's tournament before the second weekend. VanDerveer defended her team following the tournament loss, saying, "I'm not going to fall into the trap of saying, wow, we had a horrible season," she said. "I know that our men's team would be ecstatic to be playing 2 games in the NCAA tournament, and Bernard would be happy about that too," she said, referring to the longtime Stanford AD Bernard Muir. Now, she was right. The season was not awful, but it's clear that she was frustrated, which resulted in that comment, which at best was some passive-aggressive shade at the men's team. In addition, the players were frustrated as well. You see, Stanford's roster was deep and talented last season with 15 players, which resulted in good players being on restricted minutes. You can get away with that when you're crushing teams on your way to the Final Four, but this is less palatable when your team is bounced early. Betts wasn't alone in getting into the portal, as guards India Navar and Emma Nopu also put their names into the portal too. Haley Jones also opted against staying for a 5th COVID year. Portal transfers is just a part of modern basketball. I understand that, but with Betts, I suspect the very end of the season put a bad taste in her mouth. She only got 5 minutes of playing time in the last game against Utah. Prior to that, Betts' minutes and her productivity had increased. In the last 6 games of the regular season prior to the Utah game, Betts got double-digit minutes, and in 5 of those games, she got double figures in points and shot 64% from the field. So it would have been surprising and no doubt frustrating to her that she played only 5 minutes against Utah and then a total of 18 minutes in the 2 Pac-12 tournament games, and then was limited to a total of 25 minutes in the 2 NCAA tournament games, with only 8 minutes in the second round loss to Mississippi. Betts entered the transfer portal in early April, several weeks after the season. She did not make any announcements. Reporter Marissa Ingimni tweeted after Betts entered the portal with what seemed like a pretty tame tweet saying, "Deeply did not expect Betts to enter the transfer portal, but she was frustrated her role didn't grow more during the season. Still was projected for a big jump as a sophomore." Then Betts' mom, Michelle, responded to this. "With all due respect, your projections or anyone's projections don't really mean anything. The coaches make the decisions, and none of you have any idea what they might have planned or not planned for Lauren. I won't respond again, but felt I had to say that." Now, when I look at the tweet by her mom, I don't read that as clapping back that her daughter was frustrated, but more at the idea that Lauren Betts' role would grow at Stanford next season. If you don't know, Lauren Betts' dad is 7'1" and played basketball in Europe when Betts was growing up. Her mom was also an athlete and played volleyball at Long Beach State, where she met Lauren's dad, Andrew. They are pretty invested in her career and have a pretty close eye on things. Then Lauren Betts came out and announced her signing with UCLA, saying, "Learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow." Now, UCLA originally recruited her, but her choosing UCLA, well, for me at least, it's fantastic. With Betts going to UCLA, we now get to see the matchup of her going against Brink, and that should be good. We're guaranteed 2 matchups, and I just wonder if Betts is like, "I was kicking her butt in practice, and I deserved more minutes. You limited me. I'll just go. I'll take my toys and go to UCLA, as I cannot stomach having my minutes restricted another season. I played the game the freshman year. I had limited minutes early on, and then I earned more minutes. But when it got down to the business end of the season, you did not play me, and I do not trust you, Tara VanDerveer, to start me if I am beating up Cameron Brink every day in practice. So therefore, I will go to UCLA, who are loaded with Osborne coming back and Kiki Rice, the freshman, and then add Lauren Betts, and they're set up. They have a good coach and Corey Close. So in ESPN, they're currently rated number 5 for next season, and the Stanford Cardinal have dropped to number 16 in the preseason ratings. So this should be fun to watch. And overall, I think the transfer is a good thing because I think it's a waste to have the 2 best centers on the same team. I like the idea that Betts and Brink are going to get the chance to match up. It should be really good, and I'm looking forward to watching it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think Betts would have stayed if she would have gotten more minutes at the end of the season, those last 3 games? And then number 2, who do you think will win the matchup when Betts and Brink match up? I sort of have a feeling that Betts is going to probably win the personal matchup, and I think UCLA will probably take down Stanford, but that's why they play the games. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope to see you next time. Good night.